Diane Meets Mom is the eighth episode of the third season of Cheers, directed by the wonderful James Burrows. And this is a bit of an interesting episode to watch. I watched Frasier before I watched Cheers, so I already had an idea in my head of what Frasier's mother is like. And this isn't it. So I feel like this episode would be very different to watch if you haven't seen Frasier. And I'd love to know if you watched Cheers first and then Frasier, how do you find that change in personality? And there's a very specific reason why I'm saying this, but I'll discuss that in a moment. There will be spoilers from this point on as I go into a bit of detail about things in the episode, but generally, it's a really great episode. It starts off very entertainingly. A phone repair person comes into Cheers, and Coach tries to phone Sam to find out what's going on. The penny hasn't quite dropped that the phone is broken, and that's why the guy is there. Really great intro, very entertaining. And then we find out that Diane is going to be meeting Frasier's mother. His mother here is Hester Crane, played by Nancy Marchand. And I have to say, she's brilliant, and the character is very well written, very well performed. But it's not the woman we learn about in Frasier. And there are continuity issues. For example, Frasier mentions something that happens to his father in Cheers, and it doesn't quite connect the dots with Frasier. They did find a way around that. But the point there being is that Cheers Frasier and Frasier, there are some differences in the character's backstory, but nevertheless, she is Dr. Crane, she's very well educated. There are a lot of similarities between Diane and Frasier's mother, and things seem to be going really well. I think the exchanges between them are very well written and very entertaining. The over the top performance that Diane gives because she's so anxious about how Frasier's mother will perceive her, I thought was brilliant. And obviously, Shelley Long gave a really great performance. It's lovely to see Frasier being really happy about everything and the two women in his lives coming together. But what is a little bit harder to swallow is when her mother's opinion changes, or at least when she reveals her true colours. And as I said, big spoilers for things that happen. Unaware to Frasier, his mother threatens Diane and basically says, "Break up with my son or I will kill you." And within the context of the episode, it's very dramatic. It's very believable with this kind of personality that we have for her in this episode. But based on the mother we know through Frasier, it's not the same person. Through Frasier, we learn that actually she's a very open-minded individual. She's a very considerate individual. Granted, these opinions are coming from mostly Martin and Frasier, who want to remember her very fondly, of course. But she comes across in Frasier as being somebody who was very open-minded, not the kind of person to brush somebody aside and to get in the way of her son's happiness. And also the fact that she looks down her nose at Diane. I didn't write it down word for word, but basically she tells Frasier she said what she did because she doesn't want Frasier to end up with a barmaid, basically. But bearing in mind that she married Martin. Now he's a cop, not a barmaid, but she married somebody who wasn't an academic. So I don't think that that person would have this opinion. So it's kind of hard to watch this episode with the knowledge of the description of her that comes in Frasier. But based purely on this episode, I think she's a well written character, well presented, well acted, definitely very interesting, and it's quite a compelling story. And I think the way Diane responds is absolutely brilliant, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. We also have a subplot involving Norm. It's his 36th birthday, and he gets hit on the head with a cork when Coach opens the bottle, and this beautifully choreographed moment of Norm falling backwards and everybody rushing around him. Considering they just sung Happy Birthday, everybody was already there. It was beautifully staged, really thoroughly enjoyed it. The bit that I didn't love, and I don't think it should have gone a different way, but I don't love the fact that Norm then presented Sam with this bill for his hospital fees for $683. He actually had an additional procedure while he was there, which he is now getting Sam to pay for. And I didn't love that sense of entitlement with Norm. I love Norm. Nothing will ever change that. But it was a little bit uncomfortable to see Norm technically trying to take advantage of the situation, and I guess of Sam. So that was a little bit awkward, but absolutely nothing to affect my love of Norm. I absolutely love him. We also got two Norms. He had two entrances in this episode. That basically never happens. So all things considered, it's a brilliant Norm episode, but that one moment was a bit awkward. I loved it. A great episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes, it's a very different episode to watch having seen Frasier. Obviously, because I watched Frasier first, I can't imagine how I would feel about his mother first, but I imagine I wouldn't. I love how the character is written, but I wouldn't love her as a person. But because I was fed so much information with Frasier and Martin praising her to the hilt, it's kind of like I have conflicting feelings about her as a character. But nevertheless, it's a brilliant episode. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. Very funny, very well written. Ultimately, I can't fault it, and I'll always enjoy it.